All right, folks, we're here with conversations with your higher self today, celebrating the solstice, which is why we're all so sparkly and beautiful as you all are. I'm here with Anne Cox today, and we're going to talk about Christmas and the solstice and what all that means. Conversation might be triggering for some because we have been indoctrinated in religion to have certain beliefs built around the Christmas season, but we're going to shake that up a little bit. What do you think, Anne?
I think so, because once I started researching, the information I found out was not what I expected. So one thing I think is important to consider, that our lifetimes on earth are very short. So we like to think that the truth of human existence ends and starts with our birth and death, which it's been going a long time before that. And as we come into this body, we're representing all of our ancestors, which we talked about on our last call. So what I found out was that Christmas began in the Roman Empire in 366 AD. So that was the first time that Christmas was ever mentioned. I believe, and I've studied, that the Romans used Christianity as a way to control the people that lived in Rome. So it isn't surprising that they plopped Christmas right on top of what we consider paganism, which I went to a site in England, much like Stonehenge, and I finally found out that I was actually a pagan, because I believe in many ways to experience and receive God and love and creation. I am not aligned with one perspective or religion, as we would call. Religion's man-made, though. So then that took me on more of a journey of research, and I found out that Christmas has only existed in the United States since 1870. So that's an extremely short amount of time.
Yeah, it came on with the industrial age, right?
Right. So all of the symbolism that we use has originated from deep in the past of ancient peoples, and one being the reindeer. So initially, when solstice, I probably got recorded or passed down in generations exactly what it was. It had to do with mother deer being Mother Earth, and the peoples worshiping the mother that was the earth and represented in the deer. So that's why we have the deer used in our symbolism of Christmas. Then another thing, this is super interesting, the red and white costumes were worn by shamans that used mushrooms. So
my kind of people.
So here we are with thinking Santa Claus is so amazing and wonderful, but if people really knew the true reason that people are wearing these symbolic costumes, are going back to these ancient shamans who used mushrooms and administered mushrooms while it was their costume for celebration, or why can't I come up with that word? For a sacred ceremony, that's what I'm looking for. So I never really put that much thought or investigated too much into the significance of the solstice and Christmas being together as one. But now, upon the research that I've done, I see that it's a man-made thing. Christmas essentially is a beautiful symbol of us stepping into the Christ light and having an opportunity to be reborn at Christmas, or you can choose it at any other time of the year. But the reason that they use the solstice to make the birth is because we've been in a period of darkness and in the darkness, we take away all sensory. I see it as a reduction in sensation so we can connect with our own hearts and souls and see what needs addressing inside of ourselves so we can become better versions of ourselves and step into the light and own our gifts in a more empowered way.
That makes complete sense. Now, I love that thing that you sent me. I'm going to share it with everybody on here because this is really cool. This is the Metaphysics of Christmas, and this is Marianne Williams' version. Did I say her right? Williamson? Is that who she is?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is really cool because it's kind of like breaking down this little story that we've all had and showing kind of the spiritual side behind all of it. So Mary, the human race, is asleep, which is an understatement. She is awakened by an angel, the voice of God, the inner itch, the knowing that we are born to do something more than this. Now she is told to go to the roof, and that's meaning I should really start meditating. And there, because it is clear when lifted above the craziness of the world, we get the message from God. You are not meant to be a tool of insane, fear-based world. You are living an expression of something greater than anything you have ever imagined. That transformation is the hope of the world. That's the meaning of the Annunciation. The heart receives the announcement of the higher purpose. And something else interesting in this article, I just want to add as a side note, she's talking about how God is assigned as masculine, he, but then the heart is the feminine, and that is she, and they have merged together as one. And that's so beautiful too.
Well, and I think that's really what the solstice is about. And the symbolism of Christmas is the masculine and feminine merging by acknowledging the power in each energy is when we can use them to the best of our ability to create. There's so many things that I love about what you just read, because here we have been gifted the grace of God, and we have the opportunity to exude this love of Creator in every word we speak and every action we take. But for some reason, our own will intervenes with this ability. We want to separate ourselves from other humans. And another aspect of that article was pointing out the humility and the insignificance in the lives of Mary and Joseph when they agreed to take this assignment on. They were just regular people walking the streets with no favor, apparently, from God, not knowing that they had this assignment. And when the angel came to Mary and the Holy Spirit placed in her womb the body of Jesus, who would believe that? Who would agree to that assignment? I really, just
right?
the fact that she followed through with the assignment is remarkable, right? Because she had no confirmation that any of this was true. She was just following what was in her heart. She was listening to her heart. So how many beautiful things could we do if we listened only to our hearts and not to all of this noise that's surrounding us?
Mm-hmm.
It's just pretty amazing that we can function as well as we can with all the noise that's around us. I've said it before, I haven't watched television in 8 years. I try not to listen to any of this fear mongering that I see rampant in this society. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of death, so I choose life. I choose to live every single day, and I choose love. So that's my purpose. I know that's what I'm here for, and nothing's going to stop me from doing that. That's not to say that I haven't made mistakes, that I haven't exhibited aspects of myself that maybe I'm not proud of, but I learned from them. And I think this transition in Solstice from darkness to light is giving you the opportunity to forgive yourself for mistakes that you made to become who you are. And by accepting this grace of God so that you can be born anew. You don't have to do it just on Christmas. You could do it each day. Forgive yourself, step into the light and start anew. What's keeping you from doing this? So I think probably that's the most important lesson to take with Christmas and solstice for me. What do you think?
Well, you had channeled something so perfect earlier that you shared with me earlier today, that I'd love for you to share with everybody here. But yeah, it's the walking in Christ's light, being non-judgmental, forgiving those, and just existing in a space of love. And you can come across conflict, and you can come across personalities that maybe don't mesh with yours, but you can still hold space for them, and you could still look at them as Christ would look at us.
I mean, I really feel like we need to remake some more of those bracelets. What would Jesus do, right?
Right. Very, very powerful right now, I think.
What I think is important about what Jesus did, and we have to remember that he walked with humanity. He saw the love of Creator in every heart and soul, no matter how they looked on the outside. He did not hold himself to a higher standard than another. And I think that's an important lesson for us to realize every day. We are all the same. There is no one better than another. There's no expression of love better than another. There's nothing that is better than another. It's all creating. Even when we make mistakes, and even when we feel that we are in darkness, we have to acknowledge that it is for purpose. And if we can integrate and learn the lessons, we can become more of who we're meant to be and step into our divinity in a greater way. I'll read, the first thing was, when I just thought about it, it came to me what our purpose was with Christmas. So that's what you're speaking of. And I said that it was the rebirthing and coming into this life as a babe, renewed with love and needing nothing, having nothing, but becoming. So that's becoming who our soul wants us to be, co-creating with the energy of love to become a more vulnerable and balanced aspect of light, so that we can take our assignment just as Mary did and Joseph did, with grace, even if it doesn't feel pleasant at the time, right? We might have to expunge beliefs and programs that have been ingrained into us and step into something new. And I believe that's another powerful lesson of the Christ. I also did more research to find out that Christ was not born at Christmas. So that's more evidence that Christmas was placed upon the solstice to lessen the joy, really, of these humans that celebrated for weeks on end to celebrate the light. They really were one with the earth, and they did things, I guess, that people judged when they were celebrating. So as I see it, there is no right or wrong when we are stepping into our joy and light. And however someone would like to express that in celebration is up to them. And it's not up to us to judge how people wish to worship, love, or Christ, or God, or whatever they would like to call their deity. As long as we're creating for the greater good, and we're co-creating with the energies available, I believe we are stepping into our light and we are honoring the Christ.
And there's nothing wrong with celebrating Christmas in the way you've been brought up either. Exactly. I mean, if you want to have Christmas trees and celebrations, I mean, part of walking in this three-dimensional world that we're in is learning to accept all those things with non-judgment and observation, and you can have the inner knowing that it's not right, but you could still enjoy it and celebrate it with your family too. So we're not placing any of this in a box or a container that, you shouldn't be doing this.
It's just stepping in to the ability to forgive yourself and others for all aspects of yourself, for not holding yourself or anyone to a standard that this babe of Christ was born into poverty with homeless parents, and he made the biggest imprint on the world. And you too have the ability to make an imprint on the world and create a legacy with the love that you exude each day. And it doesn't have to be on a grand scale. It can be Absolutely. In small ways.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's huge. And sharing your example too. I learn a lot just from watching what other people are doing online and stepping into their power and their light. I mean, there's a lot to be said for just being the example as Christ was.
Well, inspiring one another. I think that is the greatest thing that I see, is holding each other in light and love, and using this light to activate other lights, because with this light of joy, we become a flame. We become the eternal flame. We commune with the light, and that's what we're here for. And so there's no judgment in that at all. And I think the Christmas time is a beautiful time to spend with your family and to share common themes. But the most important thing is to honor this legacy of love. And as another aspect of that article from Mary Ann, I think, was that the three kings show that they give gifts that were most valuable just to honor the innocence of this light that's available to each and every soul. They gave the most valuable gifts they could to bow down in humility to these eternal gifts of grace. And that's how I like to look at my experience of merging with the Christ light, is I could give up everything in this physical life if I could become that, if I could exemplify that. I don't need anything in this world if I can embody the gifts of eternity and experience the infinite. And we all have the opportunity to do that in unique ways.
You know what just occurred to me is kind of interesting. So many people right now are being called to leave their place where they live, go on the road, be a nomad, called to certain places in the country. It's kind of similar to that whole Christ time and all of that, where we're just following our hearts and our knowing that there's a greater purpose for us, and putting that trust in, like Mary did, that I just need to follow the message.
I just need to surrender my will for this divine will. And as long as my will is interfering, I cannot connect with my heart, because I'm saying Anne wants to go to Paris, but maybe I'm not supposed to go to Paris, even though it sounds amazing. Maybe I'm just supposed to sit at home and wait for the angel to appear and give me the message that I need. But if I'm not listening, I can't hear it. So
Right.
it's pretty basic, but I think it's important to acknowledge it. I also wrote a little message and I read it to my daughter before I got on here, because she's always a perfect critic of these words because she wants them to be easy to understand. So they say, with all of that we've just discussed, breathe in and know that this is all imperfection. In the very breath of light, we grow, we learn, we expand beyond the beliefs that have been imprinted upon us. We are moving through time and space as physical manifestations of light. This is a process of expansion and growth. Each soul, each heart coming forth with their own unique journey, their own system of beliefs and programs. In this time of confusion, we clear the programs and densities that have blinded us to who we are and what we are here for. We are here to shine the light, to step into the light. As we approach the sacred emergence of the Christ light here as a gift of grace, waiting to be awakened within your own heart, we embrace our divinity. We become whole. We become holy when we acknowledge the lessons that have been. When we integrate each aspect of ourselves that has existed in shadow, that have existed in light, we become higher aspects of ourselves. We embody the consciousness of clarity and the grace of acceptance and forgiveness of ourselves. We step into a place of non-judgment. We see all and everything as an aspect of creator. We see creation as creator.
It's so perfect. That was one of the big lessons for me this year was the dark, the shadow, all of that. It's negative entities, whatever. They're all something that's also been created and just lost its light and needs to be sent to the light. We shouldn't run from it. We should embody it and help it transmute.
Exactly. We want to force these things away from us, much like emotional and physical pain, right? Like humanity
Like dog
doesn't want to
passing.
feel pain, right?
Right.
You don't want to feel it at all. So that's why there's all these drugs to help you not feel the pain. When the way is to feel the pain, we send love to the pain, much like the darkness of entities. Like when I first channeled about messages of pain and seeing life through the eyes of pain, they showed me a drought. So a drought on earth is basically darkness. It's this stagnancy. There's no energy flowing. So it creates a death per se. But on the other side of these deaths is the rebirth that we can have on Christmas Day or any day we choose, when we want to send love and light to our own pain, to humanity's pain, through entities that might attach to us that need help getting back to the light.
Right.
If they're coming to us, they need our help. They need our acknowledgement, is the way I look at it. It's like a moth to the flame, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone deserves a chance to start again. So I think it's a duty and a service to share our light and step into the light.
And every day you can start again. I mean, we don't have to wait for some special time. It's, I fuck up all the time. The next day I try to do better. It's part of this body that we live in.
Oh, I never fuck up.
Right. I know. That's why I love you.
One thing about me is I love talking about all the bad mistakes I've made and how dumb I am. And because I feel like by sharing the mistakes I've made, that I can perhaps help someone from making the same mistakes, right? Because I didn't make mistakes intentionally. I didn't hurt anyone intentionally. At the time when I made those choices and decisions or participated, I was doing the best I could. So again, with this integration of shadow and realizing all of that and forgiving ourselves for that, we can talk about it in a vulnerable way instead of in a triggering way, right? Like,
oh, right. I mean, we're okay when we're up in that the ethers, being our, embodiment of just our soul out there floating around. What fun is that? We don't feel what we're feeling here. We don't experience what we're experiencing here. I mean, it's easy to say now because I'm not in a shitty time, but when you're going through a shitty time, it's like, I really don't want to be here. But we're supposed to just embody it and feel it. What does it want? What's it trying to tell me? And communicate and move through it.
well, and we've talked about this before. So we have information that could be considered not traditional, right? Like we've sort of stepped off the traditional path of exploration with our beliefs about love and creation and whether or not past lives exist. And in our community, it's accepted, but there's a whole population that's never heard these things. They don't believe these things. I keep hearing heretics, just like Jesus was, by presenting these concepts that are not what is taught in traditional Christianity. So just by our ability to have this interview, we're really stepping into something new. And hopefully we can inspire others who have felt a tug in their heart, who have decided that, maybe there is something beyond my life at this moment. Like there is a calling for home that you don't know where it's coming from, but you just know that this exists. God is not something outside of you. This light of God is inside of you, and it's renewed whenever you choose to step into the innocence of the Christ birth. And I think that's the most profound realization in this whole conversation, is just the ability to utilize the tools of rebirth and death so we can transform this society back into love.
Yep. It's inherent in our being, and we forgot.
We
Now
forgot.
we need to remember.
Forgot. So that's embracing every aspect of ourselves and others. So I wrote a little prayer too at the end of this, and it's so perfect because it says, "My Holy One, step into the light. The darkness has revealed the truth inside of your soul. By the grace of this gift of love, I bestow upon you the power of the I am. I become you, and you exemplify me, each and every light and being a force. And it is so and will be so. You are light, you are love, you are my perfect form."
So beautiful. Love that.
So Merry Christmas, everyone, and happy solstice.
I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. I will repost it. I'll be adding it to YouTube. You guys, I'll put below how you can find Anne if you want to reach out to her. And I'll also link that Marianne Williamson article because it's really pretty interesting. The metaphysics of Christmas.
I thought it was really interesting.
It really resonated with
sharing.
me.
And thank you for having me.
You bet. You bet. Have a great rest of the day, my dear.
Okay,
and everyone out there in Facebook land. Bye-bye.
Bye.